Am I a famous travel photographer? No. Do I get paid to travel and take pictures of different places? Also no. Should you listen to the tips I give you? Yes, you should. Why? I can guarantee you two things when watching one of my videos. One, you'll be entertained, I hope. And two, you will learn at least one new thing about photo, video work, filmmaking, storytelling, creative direction. With that being said, here are 5 travel photography tips that every photographer should know. Travel photography and exploring is one of my favorite things. I mean, for the past 2 years, I haven't really been traveling much because reason 1, COVID. Reason 2, COVID. Again, recently I did end up finally traveling for over 2 years. Although it wasn't just travel purposes, I was able to still capture and develop photo sets. While I was taking photos and creating these sets that I was posting on Instagram, I was also thinking about a lot of tips that I had to remember, basically, myself, to get back in the swing of things with travel photography. If you have a camera, if you like to take pictures when you go anywhere, these are more broad and it fits everyone, even if you're an advanced photographer, a professional photographer, to just picking up a camera for the first time. Number 1, the first tip: simplify your gear you shoot with. When traveling, I've done this one of 2 ways. Now, with all my gear that I have, I put all in one place and I bring it with me, but I've also done it the other way of only bringing one lens, one camera. And yes, it's nice to have all my gear because you never know what could happen and like what you can make, what you're going to make. And never limit yourself to what you can create and stuff like that. When traveling, there's 100 other things you gotta keep in mind, keep note of, make sure you have, and just bringing your whole life of gear just makes it so much more stressful. And I had basically all my gear with me. I can put it all in my backpack that I have now, but I didn't use all of it. It just stressed me out. It was like, what perfect lens can I use? Oh, what can I take this for this trip? I challenged myself to only use one lens that I really liked. You have a clearer head. Keeping it simple when you're traveling is less stress, and for me, that's when I really thrive and I feel like I capture my best work. The first photo set that I took of this trip was people watching. That was my first set. I didn't even use my camera for it. I used my iPhone. And to walk to the park, I didn't feel like bringing the camera with me, so I just decided to snap on my iPhone, and this set is one of my favorites out of all of them. And to the people who don't know, iPhone 8, yeah, iPhone 8, so not even the newest iPhone. So simplify that gear. Tip number 2, you don't always need to have a concept of what you're taking, unless you're going to a specific place where you know ahead of time, oh, okay, I need to grab this, I need to grab a picture of this. So like I said earlier, I didn't really plan out a trip to go to Germany. It was kind of a last minute unexpected thing, so I did not have time to really think about what am I taking pictures of, what am I gonna do. Oops, are we still good? I think when you're traveling, it's the best time to just shoot everything. There was this trend on TikTok that I really loved because I kind of go about my photography in that way. It's you take pictures of everything because you like the aesthetic. That trend, I think I might be butchering it, but I'll try to find an example of the video that I'm referring to, of the videos that were going around. I love that trend because that's how I go about my photography, especially when I'm exploring. I take pictures of everything. After a day of shooting, like say you go out one day and you shot all this stuff, you go back and you find the best pictures that you love, and then through that you notice a concept, you build a concept afterwards. You don't need to know a concept always ahead of time when you're like before you're shooting. Picking the right ones, it's sort of the concept builds itself. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, learn a little bit about the history about something, or about a particular place, about a particular thing, about a particular building. Really adds that substance to what you need to build and capture a photograph for yourself, or what makes this certain subject important to you first that will take that picture and make it important to someone else to care about, right? So learn about the history. Tip number 4, don't be afraid to try new photography techniques or techniques in general that you've been always wanting to do. The technique that I just leaned towards during this trip was the panning technique. Going through the sets, I think I did this 3 times. Pick some techniques that you've always wanted to try. that maybe you haven't tried, maybe you're not even good at. Maybe you want to put more work into it. Anytime you shoot, I recommend trying new things out to try to add to your progression and add to getting better with everything. But for me, traveling and exploring is the one time I feel I have the most time to practice. I don't have to deal with work. It's just my full-blown attention is taking photos, and even like picking a certain technique to try to get better at the end of the day, if you consistently try to get this, you also build a concept out of it. Like picking a technique helps a lot. It helps narrow down, because I know having creative freedom is great, but sometimes even like narrowing down a little bit will help a lot, because you don't feel like you're lost, completely lost. Sorry to interrupt this amazing episode, but speaking of the panning technique, I'm about to show you how to do it in post. The way you do it in general without like naturally and capturing at the motion, make sure your shutter speed is set to like a pretty low shutter speed, and then you follow your subject and then you snipe it with that, essentially with the panning motion. But you can also do it in post. So out of all these 3 pictures that I did it in these sets of my trip, one of them, it has been done in post. I mean, if you'd like to guess which one was done in post, you're more than welcome to. So guess. If you guessed this one with the guy on the bike, you are right. Yep, this one was done in post. The first step is to mask out your subject. The more time you spend on this and the cleaner this is, it will kind of look better. For this particular one, I really spent some time because I had to go into each individual wheel and mask out the background that was seen through the spikes and the wheels of the bike. So after you mask out, you hit layer via copy, and now you have your subject in its own layer. So we're done with that. So now after you have your subject, go down to the background layer. So that's your picture in total, your whole picture, all of it. Now for this, you want to go into filters for your background. You want to go into filters and add motion blur. Here this is where the effect comes in. You can increase it however much you want for a particular picture. For this one, I kept it around 175. I didn't want too much. And to make it a little bit more realistic, you can control the angle of the blur. And for this one, since he's going down a little bit of a slope down the street, I wanted to match that blur with the direction he was heading down. But again, it's your preference. But after that, yeah, it was around like 20, I believe the angle was. But after that, it's done. You did the effect, and it's looks real to me. I mean, however much time you spend on it, you can make it look pretty accurate to doing it manually. But yeah, it's as easy as that. 2-stepped, mask out your subject, add motion blur to the background, and there you have it, the panning technique done in post. The final tip number 5, is a basic one, but try to have your camera with you as much as possible. Finding that balance and not letting the camera be an obstacle to one, enjoying the moment, enjoying wherever I'm traveling, not be too invested primarily into capturing the moment, but also trying to live in the moment. That's one of those things where it's like I'm still trying to get better at, because sometimes I feel like having all my gear, having my camera on me is just more work, right? Sometimes I just want to be and enjoy myself without having to worry about grabbing a specific shot, making sure I have a photo. This is why number 1 is simplifying my gear, especially when I'm traveling, helps me with this tip 5 of bringing the camera strapped on and just having it with me. I turn it on whenever I want to, and I could turn it off and just keep it there. So, because it's like one of the worst things of like, I got this amazing footage, I got these amazing photos, but I never looked up away from my camera. So one of the biggest things I'm still learning about is just like making sure the camera isn't obstructing my experience. Having your camera with you as much as you can helps more than it hurts. I hope those were helpful. Please, if you did learn something from this video, or if you just enjoy this video, I would appreciate it a ton if you like and subscribe down below. We're on the road to 300 subscribers. I would love to hit that soon. I completely forgot what I say in these outros, but I will see you soon. Peace out.